Welcome to the deep dive. It really feels like we're living in a pretty turbulent world right now, doesn't it?
It really does. Constantly on our toes.
Yeah, and it's not just a feeling, there's data. An APA poll this year found like 43% of adults feel more anxious than just last year.
Wow, 43%. That's significant.
It is, and you think about the economy, elections coming up, gun violence, it's a lot.
It really is. And what's becoming clearer is this whole idea of collective trauma.
Collective trauma. Explain that a bit.
Well, it's not just individual stress anymore, right? Big events, the pandemic, global conflicts, racial justice issues, inflation, climate change stuff, they create this kind of shared anxiety.
Ah, okay. A shared weight we're all carrying.
Exactly. And that can have real lasting impacts. We might
Mhm.
be seeing links to increases in chronic illnesses, mental health diagnoses too,
Mhm.
and younger folks, Gen Z, younger millennials.
Mm.
They seem to be feeling it acutely.
Mm.
Financial stress, isolation, just this general uncertainty about, well, everything.
Right. So navigating all this intensity, it makes sense. People are looking for something, well, more solid, something internal.
Absolutely. A way to find some stability inside.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is focused on two really key ideas: inner peace and life purpose.
Like twin pillars for well-being, you could say.
Yeah, I like that. Twin pillars. And the good news, the really encouraging part, is that these aren't some, pie in the sky ideals. They're actually achievable.
That's the crucial point. We want to explore them as real possibilities,
Yeah.
not just abstract philosophies.
Okay. And where are we drawing our insights from today?
We're looking at a range of research, insights from the American Psychological Association, the WHO, the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley too, all groups really dedicated to understanding, human flourishing.
Great. So let's start with inner peace. What does that actually mean? It's got to be more than just feeling happy for a moment, right?
Definitely more than fleeting happiness. Inner peace or peace of mind, it's more of a deliberate, um, maintained state, like psychological or spiritual calm, even when things outside are, well, stressful.
Okay, a maintained state, like
It's
stable.
exactly. Psychologists sometimes call it a low arousal, positive emotional state. Think serenity, calmness, harmony, balance, contentment. These feelings come from within, and they tend to last. It's different from that quick hit of uh, hedonic happiness.
Got it. Not the roller coaster, more like a calm lake.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And different philosophies have explored how to get there for
No,
centuries.
yeah. Like what?
Well, Buddhism, for instance,
Hmm.
it talks about freedom from suffering through things like mindfulness, meditation, compassion,
Mm.
and a degree of detachment. The idea is peace comes from inside you.
Right. Not from chasing external stuff you can't really control anyway.
Precisely. Which leads nicely into Stoicism. They also focus on inner tranquility. How? By accepting what you can't control and focusing on what you can, your own virtue, wisdom, reason, self-discipline.
So peace through acceptance and focusing inward.
Detachment from the external outcomes is key there.
Okay. Different path. Similar destination, maybe.
In a way, yeah. Then you have Taoism. They talk about aligning with the natural flow of life, wu wei, or sort of non-forced action.
Wu wei. Letting go of effort.
Kind of, yeah, letting go of unnecessary effort, finding peace in nature, simplicity. Lao Tzu had that great quote, when there is no desire, all things are at peace.
No desire. That's a tough one in our world.
It is, but it points to quieting that constant striving. And Confucianism focuses on equilibrium-like, an undisturbed mind and harmony, balanced emotions. They see that as the root of proper action in the world.
Okay, so if we pull these threads together, acceptance seems key, maybe letting go of being overly attached to material things.
Yes, definitely.
And cultivating inner balance, calm, managing emotions effectively.
That's a great synthesis. Acceptance, transcendence of materialism, inner balance, emotional self-regulation. Those are core components.
And it's important to say what inner peace isn't, right? It's not just being passive or indifferent.
Absolute crucial point. It's not indifference. It's not avoiding joy or just resigning yourself to bad stuff. It's actually active engagement with life, but from a place of internal harmony.
Active engagement. So not checking out, but checking in with yourself first.
Exactly. The core principle is internal regulation, building stability inside yourself regardless of what's happening outside. It's mainly an internal achievement.
Through mental skills and attitudes.
Right. Like that capacity for acceptance,
Yeah.
The Stoic thing, Gandhi said something similar, peace unaffected by outside circumstances,
Hmm.
and that emotional self-regulation piece.
It's like building your own internal weather shelter. So what are the real-world benefits? If you cultivate this, what happens?
Well, the research shows quite a lot.
Huh.
Higher life satisfaction, more frequent positive emotions,
Yeah.
just better overall well-being.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. And conversely, less negative emotion, lower rates of depression and anxiety. Some studies even suggest links to things like more pleasant dreams, greater empathy, being a better listener, having stronger relationships.
Wow, okay, so it really ripples outward.
It does. Think of it like psychological homeostasis,
Yeah.
keeping your mind in balance. It's fundamental to flourishing. And, the Dalai Lama talks about individual peace being the foundation for world peace.
That's a powerful connection. Okay, so this sounds great. How do we actually do it? What are the practical pathways?
Right. Let's get practical. Mindfulness and meditation are a really central pathway for many.
Mindfulness. We hear that word a lot. What does it mean in practice?
At its core, it's paying attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment. Just noticing your thoughts, feelings, sensations, what's around you with openness.
Okay, so not judging the thoughts, just noticing them.
Exactly. That helps quiet that constant mental chatter, that internal noise, and creates space for calm.
How do we practice it? Like, what are the techniques?
Lots of ways. Breath awareness is a simple starting point, just feeling the breath go in and out. Body scans involve bringing awareness to different parts of your body, noticing sensations. Sitting meditation, often focusing on the breath or just observing thoughts. You can even do walking meditation, really paying attention to the feeling of walking. And then there's loving kindness or meditation, actively cultivating feelings of warmth and compassion.
So, bringing intention to simple acts, what does the science say about the benefits?
Oh, it's pretty extensive.
Hmm.
Reduce stress, anxiety, depression symptoms. It can help with chronic pain, insomnia, even high blood pressure.
Really? Blood pressure, too.
Yeah. Plus, improved attention, better emotional regulation, helps you see yourself a bit more objectively, decreases burnout, improves sleep. Some early evidence even suggests it might help with diabetes control.
Wow.
And one trial specifically showed mindfulness training led to higher reported inner peace and lower stress. It works.
That's compelling stuff. Are all types of meditation basically the same? You hear about TM, MBSR?
Good question. There are different approaches. MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, uses mindfulness for stress. Transcendental meditation, TM, often uses a mantra. There are focused attention practices, open monitoring. They share core benefits, but some research might show slight differences. Like one meta-analysis on PTSD suggested TM might have had a somewhat larger effect size. But honestly, the most important thing is finding a practice you connect with and doing it regularly.
Consistency. There's that word again. Seems key. All right, what's another pathway besides mindfulness?
Gratitude practices. Really powerful.
Gratitude. Just being thankful.
Pretty much, yeah. It's consciously recognizing and appreciating the good things in your life, big or small. It actively shifts your focus away from what's wrong or what you lack towards what you have.
How do you practice gratitude? Do you just think thankful thoughts?
You can, but structured practices help. Like keeping a gratitude journal, maybe jotting down 3 things each day, writing gratitude letters to people.
Oh, actually writing a letter.
Yeah, or even just a visit to express thanks. You can do gratitude-focused art, or simply take mindful moments during the day to really appreciate something positive.
I like that idea of actively looking for the good. What effects does this have on us?
Well, research links it to increased positive emotions, happiness, life satisfaction, and, interestingly, reduced depression and anxiety.
Okay, so it boosts the good, reduces the bad.
Exactly. Neurologically, it might trigger dopamine and serotonin, release those feel-good chemicals. Plus, it strengthens social bonds, improves relationships, can lower cortisol levels.
The stress hormone.
Right. And it helps counter that natural negativity bias we all tend to have. It trains your brain to see the positive.
Okay, gratitude. Makes sense. What else helps cultivate inner peace?
Getting out in nature. Nature's balm, you could call it.
Yes. I definitely feel calmer outdoors.
There's just something inherently soothing about the natural world, isn't there? It helps you disconnect from the constant noise and reconnect with a sense of calm.
So how can we tap into that more, practically?
Doesn't have to be a huge trek.
Yeah.
Daily walks, even short ones in a park or just a leafy street. Try doing it mindfully. Maybe leave the phone behind.
Good idea. Device-free walks.
Yeah. Or just eat your lunch outside. Sit on a bench and just be for a few minutes. Bringing plants indoors helps too. And if you can swing it, Longer nature retreats can be incredibly restorative.
And the science backs this up. It's not just a feeling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Studies link nature exposure to reduced stress, anxiety, depression, improved mood, self-esteem, even cognitive function like attention and focus. Better emotional regulation too.
That's quite a list.
And interestingly, it seems the degree of connection you feel with nature matters. It can also boost your sense of meaning, purpose, belonging, self-acceptance.
Wow. Nature is powerful medicine. Okay, one more key pathway.
Let's talk about the wisdom of acceptance, particularly drawing on Stoic ideas.
Okay, Stoicism again. Acceptance.
Yeah, specifically differentiating between what's in our control and what isn't.
Like Epictetus said, right? Some things are up to us, some aren't.
Exactly. Our judgments, our responses, attitudes, actions, those are largely to us. External events, other people's behavior, outcomes generally not.
So focus your energy where it counts.
Precisely. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius really emphasized working on our internal world, accepting what we can't change instead of fighting it constantly.
It's not giving up, though, is it?
No, not at all. It's not passive resignation. It's being wise about where you invest your mental energy. It actually fosters an internal locus of control, feeling like you manage your responses.
You know, that sounds a lot like principles in modern therapy, like CBT.
You're spot on. Cognitive behavioral therapy heavily emphasizes examining our interpretations, our thoughts about events. Both Stoicism and CBT recognize it's often our interpretation, not the event itself, that drives our feelings.
Changing the thought changes the feeling.
Pretty much. And the Stoics even had this practice, premeditatio malorum, thinking about potential negative events beforehand. Not to be morbid, but to build resilience and appreciate the present more.
Wow, these ancient ideas are so relevant. Okay, let's pivot to that other pillar. Discovering life purpose. This feels like a big, maybe even intimidating question for people.
It can feel huge, yeah. But it's often seen as a fundamental human need. The Greater Good Science Center defines it nicely. An abiding intention to achieve a long-term goal that is both personally meaningful and makes a positive mark on the world.
Okay, so key parts are long-term, personally meaningful, and contributes beyond just yourself.
Exactly. It's got that future orientation, that personal resonance, and that element of contribution.
And positive psychology talks about this too.
They break it down into things like significance or mattering, feeling your life has value, purpose or goal-directedness, having aims that give life direction, and coherence, the sense that your life story kind of hangs together, makes sense.
That feeling of coherence.
Yeah. And then existential philosophy comes in saying, well, maybe there's no inherent meaning given to us. We have to create it.
Through our choices and actions, living authentically.
Precisely. We're the meaning makers. Existential positive psychology tries to bridge these ideas, finding meaning and flourishing, by facing those big existential questions head on. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy is a great example.
Frankl. Man's search for meaning. He talked about finding meaning through
Three main avenues: work, or creating something, experiences, especially love, and the attitude we take towards unavoidable suffering.
So purpose isn't just one thing. It can come from different places.
Exactly. It's this interplay, really, between discovering your inner self, your values, what's authentic for you, and engaging with the world outside through pro-social goals, long-term aims. It's where your values meet action and connection.
Okay. Why is this so important? Why does purpose fuel fulfillment?
Well, the health and well-being benefits are pretty striking across the whole lifespan.
Like what?
Longer life expectancy, actually. Fewer chronic conditions,
Right.
especially cardiovascular stuff. Higher life satisfaction, more happiness.
Yeah.
Better cognitive function, better physical function, especially later in life.
That's really significant. Longer life. How does purpose do that?
Good question. It provides a core why, a reason to live, basically. That buffers against stress. It also motivates healthier behaviors. If life feels meaningful, you're maybe more likely to exercise, get checkups, even floss.
Huh. Even flossing for purpose.
Maybe.
Right.
And it can make even mundane tasks feel more significant, part of a bigger picture. Plus, it can have positive ripple effects in your community.
Okay. Purpose gives direction and resilience.
Good.
Sold. But how do we find it? That's the million-dollar question.
It is. But there are concrete strategies. Self-reflection is huge. And journaling is an amazing tool for that.
Journaling. What should we write about if purpose is the goal?
Dive into your values and passions. Ask yourself, when do I feel most alive? What activities make me lose track of time? What values do I really want to live by? Maybe list your top 3 core values. What subjects just fascinate you?
Okay. Exploring the internal landscape.
Yeah. And reflect on experiences, earliest memories, times you stepped out of your comfort zone, mistakes and what you learned. challenges overcome, biggest regrets, proudest moments.
Mining the past for clues.
Exactly. And envision the future, too. Write a letter to future you. Describe your perfect day in detail. Or try that thought experiment. If your life was over, how would you want to be remembered?
That's a powerful one.
It is. And looking back over your journal entries later, you start to see themes emerge. The Stoics were big on daily reflection, too, checking if actions aligned with values.
Okay, self-reflection via journaling. What else?
Actively identifying your core values and strengths. Values are your compass, right? Living by them feels authentic.
How do you figure out your values if they aren't obvious?
Think about peak moments. When did you feel really fulfilled? What values were present? Or think about what really frustrates you. What values being ignored or stepped on there? Who do you admire and what values do they live by? They're exercises too, like value card sorts.
And strengths. You mentioned strengths.
Yeah, character strengths, like the VIA framework values in action. They have 24 strengths under 6 broad virtues. There's a free survey online. Knowing your signature strengths, the ones that feel most natural and energizing, is really helpful.
How does knowing strengths help with purpose?
Using your signature strengths is linked to higher well-being, happiness, better mental health, more self-acceptance, and a stronger sense of purpose.
Yeah.
It makes work feel better, helps you solve problems.
So leaning into what you're naturally good at and enjoy?
Exactly. You can track when you use your strengths, ask friends for feedback, notice strengths in others. It builds awareness.
Okay, values and strengths. What's next?
Exploring passions and interests.
Yeah.
Those things that light you up, get you into that flow state where you lose track of time.
Finding your flow. How?
Again, introspection helps.
Yeah.
What did you love as a kid? What topics keep cropping up?
Right.
Make lists of things you enjoy versus dislike, but also just try stuff. Experiment, volunteer, read widely, pay mindful attention to what really grabs your interest.
Be curious and experiment. Got it. And once you have some ideas,
Yeah.
values, passions, how does that become purpose?
Through setting goals that resonate, purpose needs action. Meaningful goals aligned with your values and passions are how you translate that inner stuff into reality. Values-driven goals bring more satisfaction.
Okay, so the goals need to mean something to you personally.
Absolutely. Frameworks like SMART goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound can help structure them. Or OKRs, WUPION, lots of methods. But the key is that alignment with your core values. That gives you intrinsic motivation. And break big goals down.
Small steps. Makes sense. And the last piece you mentioned earlier for purpose was contribution. Connection.
Yes, contribution and connection. Super important. There's a really strong link between pro-social behavior, helping others, altruism, and feeling purposeful and fulfilled.
Helping others helps ourselves, basically.
In a sense, yes. Volunteering, for example, consistently links to higher well-being, happiness, life satisfaction, positive emotions. It might even be a two-way street. Purposeful people volunteer more, and volunteering boosts purpose.
What are the benefits of, say, volunteering specifically?
Reduces stress, combats depression and loneliness, improves mood, cognition, boosts life satisfaction, sense of purpose, community connection. You can develop skills, too.
Yeah.
Even links to better physical health, lower mortality risk, better blood pressure.
Wow, that's huge. Why does helping feel so good?
Psychologically, it likely satisfies those core needs we have for autonomy, competence, and relatedness, feeling connected to others. Contributing to something bigger than just yourself is a fundamental pathway to meaning.
It really loops back to that idea of purpose being partly about making a positive mark on the world. Okay, so we've got these internal pillars, inner peace, purpose. But the world outside is still noisy, right? How do we manage all that external static?
Yeah, that's the reality. You can do all this inner work, but you still need strategies for the external chaos. Digital discipline is a big one these days.
Digital discipline, managing our tech use.
Exactly. The constant barrage of information, notifications, social media, news leads, it just overwhelms our processing capacity. Leads to stress, anxiety, cognitive fatigue.
Brain drain. Totally feel that. What can we actually do?
Boundaries. Intentional boundaries are key. Manage your notifications, turn off non-essentials, set time limits, create tech-free zones or times, like no phones at dinner or in the bedroom.
Tech-free bedroom. That's a tough one for many.
It is, but powerful. Be intentional about when you check things. Don't just react. Curate your apps. Limit news consumption. Choose sources in specific times. Prioritize real, offline life. Be radically honest about your usage.
Conscious choices instead of constant reaction. Got it. What about simplifying, like physical stuff, minimalism.
Yes, minimalism or just simplifying life in general, living intentionally with fewer possessions and commitments, maybe focusing more on
And does
experiences.
less stuff help our minds?
There's a link between physical clutter and mental clutter. Clutter can actually increase cortisol, that stress hormone. Disorganized spaces can contribute to anxiety and feeling overwhelmed.
Makes sense. Clear space, clear mind.
Pretty much. The mental health benefits can include reduced stress, anxiety, mental noise, better focus, mood, decision-making, even better sleep. It frees up energy, time, and resources for things that actually align with your purpose.
The common thread seems to be intentionality again.
Exactly. Intentionally choosing what comes into your physical and mental space. Actively filtering instead of passively reacting. It's essential for protecting that inner peace and focus.
Okay. And you mentioned revisiting that Stoic idea here too.
Right, the dichotomy of control again. Remembering what you can control, your judgments, responses, actions, versus what you can't, external events, other people.
Applying it to daily frustrations.
Yes. Focus your energy on your response to the frustrating situation, not on trying to force the situation or the other person to change when you can't. It helps maintain your equilibrium, avoids wasting energy resisting the unchangeable, and it reduces unhelpful self-blame too.
Accepting reality, controlling your reaction.
Yeah.
So, even with peace and purpose, life throws curveballs. Resilience becomes crucial. What exactly is psychological resilience?
Resilience is basically successfully adapting to difficult life experiences, trauma, tragedy, major stress. But it's more than just bouncing back. Often it involves actual growth through the hardship.
So growing from challenges, not just surviving them.
Exactly. And it's not about avoiding pain or difficulty. Importantly, it's not some fixed trait you either have or don't. It involves behaviors, thoughts, actions, skills that can be learned and developed.
Okay, so we can build it. What are the key ingredients?
Researchers often point to a few key factors. Connection, strong social support. Wellness, taking care of yourself physically and mentally. Healthy thinking, constructive thought patterns, meaning finding purpose, even in challenges. And flexibility, being adaptable.
Connection, wellness, healthy thinking, meaning flexibility. Got it.
What are some specific coping strategies we can develop?
Prioritizing self-care is fundamental. Nutrition, exercise, sleep, making time for hobbies you enjoy.
The basics, but they really matter. They really do. Maintaining routines can also help. Structure provides predictability when things feel chaotic. Nurturing a positive self-view is important too, reminding yourself of past successes, trusting your ability to handle things.
Building self-efficacy.
Right, and cultivating hope and perspective, keeping a hopeful outlook, seeing the bigger picture, remembering challenges are often temporary.
Maintaining perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned cognitive restructuring before. How does that fit into resilience?
It's a core skill. Cognitive restructuring is about identifying, challenging, and changing those inaccurate or negatively biased thoughts that really undermine resilience. It's a key CBT technique.
Those unhelpful thought patterns, like what?
Common ones, sometimes called cognitive distortions, include things like catastrophizing, expecting the worst possible outcome, black and white thinking, seeing things as all good or all bad. Overgeneralization, one bad thing happens, and you assume everything will go wrong. Personalization, blaming yourself for things you didn't cause. Magnification, blowing negatives out of proportion. Emotional reasoning, I feel it, therefore it must be true.
Recognizing those patterns is the first step, I guess. How do you change them?
There are techniques, like catch it, check it, change it. Socratic questioning, asking yourself probing questions about the thought. Gathering evidence for and against the thought, doing a cost-benefit analysis of holding on to the belief, brainstorming alternative explanations, using thought records to track the process.
So actively challenging those negative automatic thoughts.
Exactly. The benefits are huge.
Hmm.
Reduce stress and anxiety, better communication, healthier coping, more self-confidence. It directly builds resilience.
Okay. And the last piece of the resilience puzzle seems to be social support.
Absolutely critical. Feeling loved, valued, cared for, part of a network that's social support.
How strongly is it linked to mental health?
Very strongly. Good social support is linked to lower rates of depression, anxiety, stress, self-harm, higher positive feelings, well-being, and resilience.
Why is it so protective?
It acts as a buffer against stress. Lazarus and Folkman's stress theory highlights this. It also meets that fundamental human need for relatedness we talked about earlier.
So what can we do practically to strengthen our support systems?
The APA suggests actively making connections, join groups, reach out, practice empathy in your existing relationships, nurture family ties, And crucially, reach out for support when you need it. Overcome that reluctance many of us feel to ask for help. The Stoics even advised choosing supportive companions wisely.
It really sounds like resilience isn't just one thing. It's this holistic blend of internal strategies, managing thoughts, self-care combined with purposeful action, and leveraging external resources, especially our connections.
That's a perfect summary. They all work together synergistically to help us not just withstand adversity, but potentially grow from it.
So bringing this all together, this has been a really rich deep dive. It feels like cultivating inner peace and discovering life purpose aren't just nice to haves, they're almost essential tools for navigating, well, now.
I completely agree. They provide that internal anchor and direction. And the most empowering part, I think, is remembering this is a personal journey.
Right. Not one size fits all.
Exactly. The ideas and strategies we talked about are starting points. For you listening, it's about exploring what resonates, what fits your life, adapting things. The key really is starting small, focusing on consistent effort.
It's not about reaching some perfect endpoint, is it? More about the process.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
Self-discovery, growth, reflection, adapting.
Yeah.
Life will keep happening. Challenges will arise. But these principles, these practices, they build your inner resources. They help you navigate the turbulence with more calm, more confidence, more direction.
So integrating air peace and life purpose, using these kinds of evidence-based strategies, it empowers us to move beyond just coping towards actually creating a life with more fulfillment and well-being. That's the goal, moving towards flourishing. And that capacity for positive change, it really does lie within each of us through mindful awareness and purposeful action. Okay, so the final thought for you, our listener, to maybe chew on after this, what's just one small, concrete action you could take today, maybe even right after listening, to cultivate just a little bit more inner peace, or to nudge yourself even slightly closer to a clearer sense of purpose?
Just one small thing.
Yeah. And maybe remember, as you consider that the journey itself, the consistent effort, the learning along the way, that's really where the value is found.